Right. Well, good morning and welcome to Cheese Fix for yet another amazing Tuesday. We are excited today again. Like Tuesdays is normally my favorite time of the week because it's so exciting whenever there's so many amazing solution women who are out there doing things, doing amazing stuff. And when we get to highlight them in these sort of platforms, I really get excited because every day there's a new energy, there's a new spirit, there's a new reason to get excited, there's a new reason to be inspired, to be motivated. And I get so excited about Tuesday. And this morning, it's been long in the making, and I am so happy that it's finally happening this morning. So we definitely go in there. I've got the beautiful, amazing, absolutely. Let me tell you, she is a powerhouse of a woman. She ain't nothing lazy, you. You're about to find out. If you don't know her before, you're about to meet this woman. This woman is innovation. If there was, I mean, if innovation was a person, this she right here. So when we come up, we are definitely starting a conversation with Anja. Anja Fernand is the name, and we just want to take the opportunity right now to thank our sponsors or partners rather, I like to call them, the First National Bank and also Courts. Let's take a word from them. And when we come back, we're definitely going to be going into the conversation. I'll be opening up microphones and we get to meet the wonderful Anja. Oh, by the way, we are live on Facebook at the official page of Radio Caribbean International. And we are also live on our YouTube page, that's Radio Caribbean. So if you'd like to get more up close, personal, you can go over there. And once you've done that, please do us a favor and share it as well. Don't keep all the good things to yourself. We take a word from our partners. We'll be back.
Get vivid views and Quartz Optica. View the world in the latest frames and lens. Double your savings with 50% off credit purchases, 24 months and over. 25% off cash purchases. Wear it now and pay later. Plus, you can book your eye examination appointment online today on www.quartzoptical.com. Get vivid views only at Quartz Optical. Value you can see. Offer ends September 2024.
It all started with a penny. For over 85 years, we have invested in our farmers, fishermen, people, and our country. When we were called to serve, we were here. We understand what is valuable to our people and our country. That is why we support all industries, including tourism. We are the bridge towards a brighter future and economic growth. When our people, government, and businesses called upon us, we were here. 85 years later, First National Bank St. Lucia Limited is here for you.
Wonderful. Well, here we are. And if you are joining us via any one of our means, whether it's one of the streaming means or you have our you have the smartphone and you have downloaded our app and you're listening to us on the go, or probably you're stationed somewhere in your office or you're on the run, whatever it is, but you're tuned in at this point. You're probably on the frequency if you download the course as well. So we want to say welcome. And of course, I am so privileged to be hosting. Let me tell you something. All my time I meet the young lady, I calling her the wrong thing, and with such confidence, you will tell her name is actually Anya. The J is pronounced as a Y. There's got to be
Yes.
a reason for that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Long in the
Thank
making, and I am
you.
absolutely elated to share you and share your journey with the viewers and listeners today.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm very happy to be here. It's like you said, it's been long in the
The
making.
boy, you think is now we're talking about this? No, we wind back down because there has to be a reason. Where's the name from? Because first we go in there. We want to talk a
Over
little bit
there.
about childhood, what were you like as a child, what was
Sure.
growing up like. I want you to take us on a little journey there. I want you to go back mentally into the space there. If
Yeah.
it's not a long journey for you to go back
No,
there and
no, no.
just pull out some of the energies. What were you like as a little girl? What was the household like? What were
Yeah.
some of the principles that was being thrown around within your
Yeah.
growing up years that you think it's contributed to where you are and the person you are today?
For sure. So, my dad is Saint Lucian, but my mom's Irish. So my name comes from one of her friends. So Anya with a J tends to be either Russian or Dutch origins.
Oh,
So for me as a child, well, first and foremost, mixed race family.
nice.
So we stood out, to say
Right.
the least. But growing up, there was a blend of two cultures, you would say, Irish and St. Lucian. So the things that stand out for me, I grew up with, there's a big gap. There's 15 years between my mom's first two children and myself and my other sister.
Oh,
So there were just two of us in the house. I tended to chase my father around the farm like a little yeah.
oh, okay.
So I would say the most impactful thing from him was work ethic. So
Mhm.
I do work a lot, and I'm glad I got that from him. My mom also had great work ethic, but she was a bit healthier, so she would take more time off than dad. So from her, the memories that are lasting are of us like piling into the van. Sometimes it was siblings, as well as cousins. Other times it was just myself, my mom, and my sister. And for picnics, she would always cook beforehand. So
Oh,
there's a strong food and agricultural
blend.
influence
That's right. This is
in my youth.
cool.
'Cause dad was a farmer, always on the farm. Mom enjoyed the farm as well, but I was always chasing after dad. But then when mom started cooking, I was there too.
I don't blame you at all. I
Priorities.
don't blame you at all. So was the Irish, because all of that was happening in St. Lucia.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
part? Is it Miku?
Miku, yeah,
Right.
on the
The
East
farm is
Coast.
still there. We're gonna
Yes,
come to that in a minute.
yes, yes.
Now, was the Irish very, very present? How was it? I mean, what is some of the Irish part of the things you remember? I'm invested.
Well, the significant thing about that was that my mom made an effort to take us over to Ireland a couple of
Ooh,
times in our childhood. I think
nice.
there was once before I could remember, but then three or four times before I turned 18. So we were actually immersed into Ireland, visit grandparents, visit aunts and uncles and cousins. Again, a strong agricultural influence over there. Like
Oh,
my grandfather used to go to the bog to cut out the it's the material they use to fuel their fires. And then
ooh,
my uncle, I remember as a child, he had taken over the cattle farm, so
wow.
spending a lot of time around livestock.
Girl,
And
you didn't
then
have a choice in this.
and then and then my grandmother, she the most significant memory on my mom's side was she used to bake soda bread. So and then like her beef stews and like cabbage was an important part of the meal. So again, strong food and agricultural
Oh
influences
my
there.
God, I love
Yeah,
this. Now
yeah.
we're gonna come back because we have a lot to talk about.
Yes, yes.
Since you like, we see it already. You didn't really have a choice in this. You know that was like divine. You had
Predestined.
to end up. You had to end up in this somehow. But you ending up in it now. You really and truly is revolutionizing it, for want of a better term. You are
Yeah,
really seeking to revolutionizing and
I
really
do.
marrying the two in a way that a lot of people thought of or spoke of before.
Yeah,
But I guess again, the background is now giving you that experience to be able to marry the two so nice in
yeah.
such a nice, cohesive sort of chemistry. I am loving this.
And and I think like a big part of it is because it's in alignment with my personal journey because like I said in the bio, like there's an interest in both soil and human health because they're interconnected. And like
Right.
in the way the world is, like I said, I tend to lean on the side of workaholic because I love what I do. So to like drag me away from it is a lot.
That's a
But
lot.
um the reality of my experiences so far is that um, if you tip the balance, you will then go into an unhealthy state, and being sick and being unwell and not being able to get up and do what you love most is very hard to live with because it it breaks down the best life you could have for yourself. It
Right.
interferes with the best life you could have for yourself.
Right.
But then when I look at agriculture, it's like the same thing with the soil. If we mistreat the soil, then we compromise our productivity
Right.
and then also the quality of the food that we're developing. So soil health is something that I elected to pursue because of my medical history. It's like, well, if my body's not taken care of, then I am compromised. But if the soil isn't taken care of, I'm compromised. And it's not to like, make the conventional farming, not to criticize it, because the way we farmed kept us alive and kept food available.
That's right.
But the new information that they're coming across in terms of how the soil is and how we treat it and the consequences of that, it can lead to increased levels of desertification. So if the soil is degraded to a point where you cannot, it turns into desert, and you cannot grow it to use it to grow food, then that puts pressure on our
That
existence.
is so true.
So that is what got my attention. And the more I look at the science and all the documents that are coming out in the studies, it makes sense scientifically, because I also have a science background. And it's just like I can look and see the conventional way, because I was in that from childhood to now,
Mhm.
and then looking at implementing these new practices. And like my current farm is like a lab. I'm just like, try
Right.
this and let's observe.
Let's
Sorry, I got
observe.
intense,
No,
but
that's fine. I want intense. We want intense. Intense is good.
yeah,
Wonderful. Let's take a word from the partners, and
sure.
we're going to come back and we're going to definitely go there. A word from the courts and the First National Bank.
Get vivid views and Quartz Optical. View the world in the latest frames and lens. Double your savings with 50% off credit purchases, 24 months and over. 25% off cash purchases. Wear it now and pay later. Plus, you can book your eye examination appointment online today on www.quartzoptical.com. Get vivid views only at Quartz Optical. Value you can see. Offer ends September 2024.
Good morning, students.
Good morning, teacher.
Let's head back to school.
It's time to get the children ready to head back to school with a back to school loan from First National Bank. Get up to $30,000 for all your back to school needs. No deposit required, low interest rates, and an easy process. Visit any First National Bank location or call 455-7127 for more information. Let's head back to school with First National Bank. Terms and conditions apply. First National Bank, here for you.
Right, and we are back. In case you're just joining us on this conversation, I've got the wonderful Anya Fernand. Oh, yes, I see Anja. Right.
You're
Anya
not the
is okay.
first.
I want to get it right. I want to get the titles right because there's so many titles attached to you, but more so is a passion that goes with it. You have a lot of hats. So Anya is like, okay, first you used to be doing ecotourism something.
Yes, so
So you started off doing that.
yes, when
And
I came out of, well, before I left university, I did 1 year of industrial placement. So it was developing food products for Marks and Spencer's to sell in the US.
wow.
And that was in my degree, a
Right.
placement. But then I went into the eco tours when I came back to St. Lucia, and that was about 7 years. ATV
Wow.
Paradise. Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. But there was agriculture and these things and the innovative ways of making sure that
Yeah,
agriculture has its
well,
place. You were still
everybody
in there.
everybody thought that it's, just about the thrill of driving an ATV. It wasn't. The ATV was the transport to get people onto the farm to
Right.
see how our agriculture compared to their, because a lot of my client customers were farmers from the US and Canada,
Oh,
and they're like, we do wheat and barley and soy. What do you do? And just to get down and cut a fresh mango off a tree, and like the juice is all around their hands, and they're like, mangoes don't taste like this back home. It's those
right.
kinds of authentic rural experiences where you literally step into my life and
Mhm.
see how we live. It looked like an ATV tour,
You are very innovative now. From our conversation, you've got a very unique knack for tying in the things to make it all work. Because how you know you abandon ATV to this thing now, and it's all still coming tying back to this.
yeah, it's
You
always been agriculture. It's always been food.
and you continue to do that because you have a
Mhm.
farm now. You've got your business. You've got how
Yeah.
many? What's it again?
Food harmony.
Food Harmony.
Yeah.
That's one. What do you do there? Let's
So
break down this, and then we're gonna because there's so much to talk about. Now I'm all over the place with you because there
you
is
don't
so
know
much.
where to start.
Yeah, because okay, we want to
Okay,
get
the
inside to that.
origins was the family farm, which was tropical fruits, and it's still ongoing.
Right.
So, Food Harmony was built on that because during the ATV tours, I just couldn't avoid going through the fields every day, seeing all the wastage. So you're right. When I did my incubator program, that was my main focus, to bridge gaps, because it's not that we're not producing enough food, we're just not preserving enough. So we're going from season to season. What we can sell, what we don't sell goes to waste.
Yes.
Now, what I did was food science. So the science behind food, part of it is food preservation. So
Right.
long term, I want to see a lot of this captured. So on my parents' farm, 70% of the mangoes were going to waste, right?
Right.
So hence my
Oh, yes.
first product, like
Yes.
dried mango. So
Right.
there's a surplus of the crop. So that's where food harmony came from. It's like we're seeing all of this food going to waste, find out innovative ways of capturing it. So there are some existing products like dried mango and frozen mango that we currently import when we have a surplus of the raw material which we can harness. So that's one of my first steps. But then some of the other products like the fruit cake, where I use things like pineapple, mango, wax apples, star fruit, jamun wine, and cassava flour to make a gluten-free vegan um, kind of knockoff of our traditional fruitcake.
Right.
But the benefits of that is that 95% of the ingredients are locally produced. So
Oh.
when we're looking at things like sustainability, that ties into it because um, what I use that's imported is, well, probably 90% sugar and the baking powder. Everything else can be produced locally.
Wow.
But on top of that, when you look at the composition of cassava flour, your glycemic index, so how much your sugar rises after you eat it, it's like half of what would happen if you ate wheat flour. So it's
Oh.
not only about creating products with what we grow locally, but keeping in mind
The
your
health.
health, our health, the
Right.
consumer's health in the process. So
Right.
cleaner labels, naturally grown food, so things that haven't been subjected to pesticides and fertilizers. That's
Wow.
the direction I'm moving in.
Right. You have another business as well.
So ATV Paradise was
Also, it still
ceased.
exists
It
on.
ceased operations, and I've
Mm-hmm.
rebranded it as Wonder in Nature. So I'm not doing ATV tours anymore. What I'm doing is walking tours on the regenerative farms, so that persons can come and see what I'm doing, see the results of these practices. There are five regenerative agricultural uh, principles that I adhere to on the farm. And the first farm is 5 years in the making. The second one I'm starting to establish now, and it's the basis of it is biodiversity, not having chemical inputs, and then finding ways where we can produce more food on smaller plots of land. So rather than having one crop monoculture in pineapple, I have in some of the fields, some in one of the fields, sorry, I have up to 20 different varieties of crops.
Wow.
So some of them, like I planted Suriname cherries, are for my personal consumption, but it adds to the biodiversity of the field. But then the main frame is citrus and cocoa. So
Wow.
you have something, I have something to I can sell commercially, but then I have other things that help with the biodiversity part of the plan, and they feed me in the interim
Wow.
because it's probably
Girl,
one
you
or
are
two
so
trees.
complete. But
You just have to, it's a
no,
puzzle.
but
And
you know what I'm thinking? No, no, I'm saying this because I am thinking so way beyond just you on on your farm.
yeah,
This is practices. This is templates that could be used
yeah,
on a national level
yeah,
to really and truly boost the way it is we keep
yeah.
talking about we want to be.
But I mean, Helen's daughters had two trips down to
Right,
show some of the members, what I'm doing there. And that is part of the objective. So one day nature will be doing tours for people who just want to come and see.
right.
But in the long term, I'm happy to have it as a model farm because
Yes,
again, it's, somewhere between 1 and 2 acres, even if you had a half an acre by taking advantage of the length and width, but also the vertical, side
right.
of things. You can actually introduce whatever crops work well for your soil type, but don't think about keeping it at one level because with like multi-strata agroforest, which just means a food forest. So
Mhm.
you create a field that looks like a forest, but it has multiple levels. So for me, like I have on the lower level, let me think of a good example: pineapple, and then citrus, and then the cocoa at the top, the
Oh,
ones. Yeah.
wow.
So you can actually have multiple sources of income from the same field, and then you have more food produced per square foot. And then on top of that, we're also building up our resilience for what do you call that? Climate
Yes.
difficulties. Because when we're looking at extensive periods of drought, when you feed the soil and you build up the soil, it increases your water holding capacity, right? So it means that when there's a drought, there's still water available to the plants. So just to help you think about it, if you add 1% of organic material, so that could be grass or mulch or leaves or whatever, per acre, it increases water holding capacity by 25,000 gallons. So that will go a long way for you.
Wow.
But by feeding the soil, it also helps it to be more better with the infiltration of rain. So how much rain goes through the soil rather than run off, and
Right.
then your um, movement of oxygen through the soil. So you gradually it builds up to be the case where you have more, energy in the soil to produce than what
Right.
you're extracting when
The
you
way it was meant
harvest
to be in the
crops.
first place.
Yeah.
That's not full
Now,
cycle.
the downside is, and the hiccup is that the first few years are challenging.
Okay.
And that is why I think the take up would be for persons who have the capital or have access to investors. But not only that, the grant that I won is for businesses that are trying to do that kind of environmental or social work. So there's a lot of funding out there.
Let's talk about that brand because
Oh,
listen,
yes.
they picked up on you and I would listen. They were right on point too. Tell me about that because you went. Where did you go again?
So the first experience was through the Green Global Growth Institute. So
Hmm.
their funders were the Qatar Fund for Development. So they had two cohorts, one in the Eastern Caribbean and one in the Pacific, and they ran three cohorts in both places. So they were looking for businesses that were making both either social and or environmental impact.
Right.
So how they formulated it was that you had an incubator program where you went through the actual program, and then at the end you created your pitch deck and did a pitch with as well as your assignments from continuous assessment,
Hmm.
and then there were 10 grants available. 10,000 US each. And I think they're trying to see if they can do another one. But that program finished the last year.
Right.
Um, so then some of us were selected to then go to Qatar because that was the
Wow.
funders, the Qatar Development Fund, and we got to go to different businesses. So there was sustainable packaging, there were farms where they were using greenhouses and all these sensors, and just to help you understand, like tomatoes here is normally a 3 month crop,
Yes.
and they said that they had been harvesting their tomatoes for about 7 or 9 months, the same plant. So
Right.
rather than having that short extraction from one plant over 3 months, their setup allowed for them to get almost 2.5 times the volume out
Right.
of the crop
Ooh.
just by having that system where they were monitoring water, direct irrigation, monitoring um, their temperatures and various
Wow.
parameters. Yeah,
Wow.
so pH as well. And if you think of all of the concerns about food security,
Right.
if you're having a system where you can guarantee to be producing, tomatoes for 7 or so months
Months.
from the same plant,
Yes.
then your return on investment is much higher, and then that
Right.
helps with the food security as well.
Wow.
Yeah. Then the second opportunity was the Young Leaders of America Institute, and that
Right.
again was there was professional training, but then at the end there was a 6 months placement in the U.S. So a lot of networking opportunities, and once you graduate from that, you become eligible for opportunities through. You become part of the graduates. The name is escaping me,
Okay.
but then through that, you
There's
can
lots
get
of
grant
benefits.
funding,
Yes.
you get networking opportunities to connect with other persons who are, and we're
Almost
talking,
like an accreditation kind
yeah,
of thing.
you're talking about persons who, worked in government in senior positions. So
Wow.
it just by putting yourself, okay, first, figuring out what your vision and mission are, and then putting yourself in a position to go after that, but not only thinking about doing it on your own, but selective programs that can that align with what you're doing,
Right.
then you can, collaborate in ways or get supported in ways that can help you boost your impact.
Did you find out about these two opportunities and you signed yourself up? You
Yeah,
see?
yeah.
Oh,
So a family friend had gone through Wildlife. So she'd been telling me since 2015, and I applied the last year I was eligible. But I was just like, this is not, I haven't figured out my puzzle yet. And what am
right.
I doing? So, sometimes I feel it's better to take a few more months refining your vision and your plan if you have, the financial ability to do that.
Mhm.
And then doing the research before actually breaking ground, because sometimes just by an Excel sheet or some market research, you can figure out this market isn't viable or this product isn't viable for me, because there are things, like electricity costs or export limitations or import limitations. So to do that was one of my failures, or should we call them? We call them lessons, not
Lessons,
failures.
right.
Is to do more work on your device or computer, or talk to experienced business persons.
Right.
Um, but in the same light, some days I look at what I'm doing and it's kind of like trailblazing. So there's
Yes.
only certain amounts that you can, you know, assess. The rest
Mhm.
is a risk
Yes.
that you learn in motion.
Trial and
Yeah.
error because
Yeah.
you're so ahead of your time in this. Let's just, I mean, we have to wrap up in a minute, but
Sure.
let's talk about the farm a little bit, because your mission, your vision
Yeah.
for what it is that you're doing, you have a grand plan for what it is you where
Yeah.
you would like to see this.
Yeah.
What is it, and how can you utilizing the farm? How can persons, how do you spread that out to the world?
So for me, I love farming and it's a part of my personal therapy. But I do not want to do more farming than what I'm doing now.
Right.
So I feel like my best impact would be something to do with food science.
Okay.
So products, and I
Right.
believe like on such a small island, that's relative, but on an island of our size, if we could have one area where we're processing certain products in massive amounts, that would be amazing. But to get to that, we need farmers producing enough. And like I said, the farm I'm doing could be a model farm and it's manageable for one or two people.
Right.
So in the coming months, I would like to start more discussions with farmers in terms of what they're doing, what they're able to do on their land, to see how we can build up capacity, to then go into have enough volume for production. So
Right.
long term, I would love to see other farms, you know, and farmers being ambassadors for soil health and implementing those things on their farms so that our soils can stay healthy,
Hmm.
because between you know development, we're losing a lot of our agricultural land,
Right.
and we're currently importing over 90% of our food.
Food.
So we're not in a good place. But if the land that we have is protected and taken care of, then we can keep producing and then hopefully reduce that import bill by producing our own
Absolutely.
products that take human health and soil health into consideration.
Right. Let's now leave with a little word of encouragement, because there's a lot of people that, they're out there, they might have ideas, they might want to do things. What are some of the advice you think you can throw out based on your own journey, within the field or in life in general?
Whew. Um, I listened to Dr. Martin Didier's service, because he passed recently, and I heard the doctor saying, he always said, go low and go slow. And it is very hard to receive that in the world today where
Right.
everything's like faster, faster, faster.
Hmm.
But I think we need to, when we're thinking about our next move, rather than jump, I would say take a bit more time to think about it, holistically. because you can have it all, but sometimes you can't have it all right now. So if for me, like when I'm thinking of production, I know I want to produce this amount, but then how is that going to impact my personal life? So you really have to make the hard choices. And I think if you make hard choices earlier on, life becomes easier. I think Les Brown is the one who said that.
Yes, yes,
If whatever you do easy will be hard, and whatever you do hard will be easy. Because when you think of a commitment to the gym, you
yes,
know, like if I'm going to take the time and put that effort into building up my bone density and taking care of myself, I'm healthier, then life will be easy because you probably won't get sick and you probably
yes,
live a long life. So the same with business or whatever your goals are. Spend more time thinking about them, but then don't think of them in a vacuum. Think of how else they relate to your life
absolutely.
because you don't want to get down the road and have regrets. So, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Anya, you're amazing. I mean,
Oh,
you're
thank you very
so,
much.
so, such an inspiration, such a motivation.
Yeah.
I plan to visit the farm.
Yes,
I plan to
I
visit the
can't
farm
wait to
very soon.
see it.
Listen, girl, you might throw me off your farm because I like them kind of things on the road, but you look like you're very strict about your farm.
No, no, no,
I
no.
can't wait to come and to see what you're doing. It
When
sounds so. I mean, and it is the
yeah,
right thing. I'm thinking, why aren't we doing this? That's what crossed my.
it
Why isn't this what we are practicing generally?
it wasn't known before, and then
Right.
to transition is hard.
It's hard
Because
transitioning.
no, it's not really it's some of it's mental, but when you look at the reality of some of the social constraints, some people don't have,
Uh,
capital or savings.
right.
You need to have that money,
To pump in.
right?
Oh
And
gosh.
and the one of the interesting things is that long term, the cost of chemicals are going up, the cost of fertilizers. So if you
Mm,
can do without that, then it'll help your profit
eventually.
eventually. But like right now, the reason why a lot of people do cash crops rather than tree crops is for that turnover. You
Oh,
get money back faster, and
oh my.
people have bills and people have needs.
That's true.
So, for anyone interested in moving that way, look out there, especially if you're under 30, under 35, especially if you're a woman. There are lots of funding available.
Mm,
Take advantage of it, but you know, get going early. Like I'm in my 30s now, and I wish I was here 10 years ago.
right.
So, really, the other thing I'd add about the advice is get clear on what you want as soon as possible,
Right.
and put it on paper. Have a vision board. Yeah.
Absolutely. And we can follow you on Food Harmony on
Yes.
Instagram.
Yes.
So make
And
sure you
Wonder Nature 758.
right. So
Yeah.
you guys can get onto Instagram or and you can follow her there. It's quite interesting. You know, you need to definitely check it out. Thank you,
Thank you
Anya.
so much.
No, that was
We'll
beautiful.
talk some more.
Girl, we should have spent the whole day together, but that's coming soon.
Come to the farm. We'll have a
I am
coconut and
definitely
a
coming down
walk.
to the farm and that little tour that we're talking about. Now I'm even more excited to come to the
Good,
farm.
good.
So
I
I
look
look
forward
forward to
to
it.
it.
Enjoy the rest of the day and
Thank
thank you for
you.
what you're doing because I believe it's groundbreaking and I believe this is where we need to be heading. And I
Yes.
think this is going to add value
Yes.
to us as a people moving forward. So
Yes.
I want to commend you on that.
Thank
Um,
you.
guys, that's our time for today. We will be doing this again next Tuesday, God's willing. Another amazing solution woman will be sitting with maybe a different path completely, but that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you to the First National Bank and to courts. And I am out until 2. I'll be back again at 2 o'clock with DJ Play, but Hyper is next. So stay locked on.
It all started with a penny. For over 85 years, we have invested in our farmers, fishermen,